What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports back to you guys with another video. In this video, I'm here with my San Francisco 49ers 2019 halfback preview. Going to be going through all of the halfbacks currently on the San Francisco 49ers roster. And the 49ers have a very talented group of halfbacks on the roster. And it's going to be interesting to see who makes the roster and who doesn't make the roster, because this is a very talented group of halfbacks. And before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Little NFL videos and NFL content daily. Also, make sure to share the video on your social media pages with your friends and acquaintances and help spread the word of the channel. Now, if you guys have a team that you guys want me to do down in the comment section down below, make sure to comment that team and the position that you guys want me to do for that team. It only takes me 2 to 3 days to get to the teams that are requested down in the comment section down below. So make sure you have a team that you guys want me to preview. Make sure to comment that team and the position down in the comment section down below. So the first halfback that we have on this list is halfback Austin Walter. Now, Austin Walter, he was an undrafted free agent out of Rice. This guy is very fast, shifty, and has very good hands. He was second in the nation in receiving yards per game for halfbacks in college football. So this guy has very good hands. He's also very shifty, very fast. And if he makes the roster, I'm going to be interested in finding ways how the 49ers get him on the roster, get him on the field, because this guy, I think he has the potential to be a very solid halfback, because just the fact that he has very good hands, and he's also very fast as well. He was also a kick returner for Rice, and he can return punts. So he has special teams ability. So if he doesn't make the roster just based on how good he is as a halfback, he most definitely could make the roster based on his ability to perform on special teams as well. So he's a guy that I'm going to be looking forward to watching throughout the rest of the offseason and into the San Francisco 49ers preseason. Next up, we have halfback Jeffrey Wilson, one of my favorites. He had 266 rushing yards, was averaging 4 yards per carry. Didn't have any touchdowns, but he was very good. He was an undrafted free agent out of North Texas in 2018, and he was on the San Francisco 49ers practice squad for last season until he got moved up in November, and he played against Seattle. Seattle was one of his most impressive games that I watched. This guy has very good patience, and he's also a very aggressive and physical runner as well. And he's not a big guy. I think he's only like 210 pounds, I believe. But he's very physical. He loves contact. And not only is he a very physical runner, but he also makes very good cuts. He also has very good hands as well. The 49ers also had lined him out wide as well. So this is a guy who I think has a lot of potential. And I really hope that he makes the San Francisco 49ers roster, because I think he has the potential to be a very good halfback in the NFL, not just for the San Francisco 49ers. Even if he gets released by the 49ers, I think he most definitely will get picked up by another team, because this guy is very, very talented. But I do think he will end up making the roster, because this guy is powerful. He also has very good hands. He's very patient. And I just really like Jeffrey Wilson a lot. I think he's one of the best halfbacks on this roster, despite not really playing in a lot of games. And despite what the stats say, go ahead and watch that Seattle game. That Seattle game was very impressive. He was very solid in that game. Although it might not show in the stat sheet, I really like what I saw him. He had patience, he had quick burst, acceleration, good hands, and he's a very physical runner. One of my favorite halfbacks on this roster for the San Francisco 49ers. Next up, we have halfback JERICK McKinnon. Now, JERICK McKinnon ended up getting injured in the offseason of last season for the San Francisco 49ers. I was very disappointed to find out that he had suffered an injury, because I thought he was going to be in the running for one of the breakout players in the NFL last season, but he ended up getting his season cut short. He didn't even have a season at all. So JERICK McKinnon, he's another guy who I'm looking forward to seeing He also makes good cuts as well. He also has pretty solid hands, also, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this season for the 49ers. Now, obviously, he's not going to have a crazy amount of touches because he's probably going to be sharing touches with all the other halfbacks currently on this roster. But I really like Jerick McKinnon a lot. And I think he has potential to be very solid for the 49ers this season. Next up, we have Matt Breida. Now, Matt Breida in 2018 had 814 rushing yards, was averaging 5.3 yards per carry, had 3 touchdowns. He also had 261 receiving yards, 27 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Now, I had Matt Breida on my fantasy team, and he was one of the best fantasy football players for a couple of weeks. I believe he was top 5 in the NFL in rushing at one point as well. And from a fantasy standpoint, he was very good for me. He won me a lot of games. He was averaging over 10 points per game from that running back position. I also had him at flex for a couple of weeks as well. And he was very good until he started suffering injuries later on in the season. And once he started suffering those injuries, he started getting carries taken away from him. And overall, I think now when he's able to stay healthy, he's going to be a very good part of that 49ers offense if they find ways to get him on the field and get him involved. Now, I don't really know how they're going to handle this halfback situation because a lot of these guys are really talented and they're really stacked at that halfback position. So it's going to be interesting to find out how they try to get a guy like Matt Breida into the fold because this guy is super fast. He has solid hands and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does this season as well. They have a lot of halfbacks on this roster who I really like. Matt Breida was very good. If he never got injured last season, I think he probably could have had 1,000 yards. And I think he could have made a case to be a Pro Bowler as well because he was very solid at one point. At one point, like I said earlier, he was top 5 in the NFL in rushing. And he was very good for my fantasy football team. One of the best players on my fantasy football team until he started getting injured later on in the season. Next up, we have RAHEEM MOSTERT. I know I'm mispronouncing that right, but RAHEEM, he was solid as well. Had 261 rushing yards, was averaging 7.7 yards per carry, and had 1 touchdown as well. He's another halfback who I'm going to be interested in seeing how they get him into the fold. Now, normally before this season, he was just basically a return specialist. He returned kick returns and stuff like that. He's a very fast guy as well, but he also has potential as a halfback like we saw in a couple of games that he played in last season. Now, he ended up suffering an injury, and that ended up him missing some time as well last season. So that's how a couple of other guys on this list ended up getting playing time as well. The 49ers suffered an injury bug really bad. They lost Garoppolo, Marquise Goodwin, so they lost a lot of talented players. But RAHEEM, I think he should be able to make the roster. He's probably going to go back to his normal ways, probably just being a kick returner and punt returner and stuff like that. But I think they will also find ways to get him on the field as well. Next up, we have TEVIN Coleman. Now, TEVIN Coleman, I think he was an underrated free agent signing for the 49ers, and I think he's probably one of the most underrated halfbacks in the NFL. Last season, he really showed that he has the capability of being the number 1 halfback when Devontae Freeman went down early on in the season. In 2018, he had 800 rushing yards, which averaged 4.8 yards per carry, had 4 touchdowns, also had 276 receiving yards, had 32 receptions, and 5 receiving touchdowns as well. So TEVIN Coleman, this dude is super talented, and I think he has potential to become a number 1 halfback on another roster next season if he does choose or something happens with the 49ers. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting because I think him and Jerick McKinnon are going to be the 2 guys that's going to be competing, splitting reps for that number 1 halfback position in the off season. Me personally, I like TEVIN Coleman to start, and I think I actually saw an article, and I don't really know if this is true or not, but I saw a couple of articles that said TEVIN Coleman was really showing out in OTAs, and he was very good for the 49ers in their offseason workouts and stuff like that, OTAs and minicamp. and that he was the leading candidate to be the starting halfback for the 49ers. But I also saw a couple of articles that said the same thing about McKinnon. So I don't really know what's going on with the starting halfback position for the 49ers. But if I had to choose, I would probably go with Tevin Coleman. I think he's a little bit better than McKinnon because he can do a lot of things and he's really talented. And I just think he's the better halfback than Jared McKinnon overall. And if I had to choose, if I was Kyle Shanahan, Tevin Coleman would be the guy who I would choose to start day one for the first game of the season for the San Francisco 49ers. But they have a talented group of halfbacks on the roster. So let me know what you guys think about their halfback position down in the comment section down below. Also, comment some teams that you guys want me to do next. Also, the position for that team as well. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content. And thanks for watching.